he had to restart his laptop, and we will be starting immediately. Because I also recognize that people there's always this drag when you're trying to log on. I'm going to just give 3 more minutes for interactions before we then kick start. So 11:05 on the dot, we will start this session. So in the meantime, say hello to your friend, welcome your professional colleagues, your network, and let's just connect together. So welcome.
Thank you, Toboson.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, I'm going to be sounding like a recorded button, but that's fine. If you're just joining us, we're waiting for 5 minutes so that everyone can settle in. And in the meantime, please say hello to your professional colleagues and friends that may be on this call so that we can, acclimatize a bit before we get started. Well, good morning and welcome. All right, so we'll start now, and good morning again. Please do me a favor, or do us a favor if you know that your colleague would like to be a part of this meeting. Now is the time to join them, to call them, for them to connect, because we will be starting. Right, so let me share my screen as we proceed. So they confirm if you can see my screen, please. So can you see my screen?
We can see, I can see your screen.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. And like I said earlier, this is the NAPE monthly technical and business meeting sponsored by Shell, and we'll just dive right in. Today, amongst our business conversations, we will be having a technical presentation titled Accurately Explaining Subsurface Anisotropy with Advanced Orthorhombic Model Building using a shallow water example. Ekemeze Ifeanyi of Shell will be making this presentation. Before I start, I'd like to say welcome to everyone. While we wait for the president to join us, I'd like to invite the president-elect to say welcome to members that are on the call, and then I'll take it back and run through our welcome agenda. If the president joins in at this time, he will take it from there. If not, we'll just proceed with our conversation. So P, over to you to welcome members into this business meeting.
Yeah, hi Toboson. Good morning. For those who are on the call, I apologize, my video is on the blink, but I hope you can hear me. Just want to thank you all for taking time out to log on to this. I'm sure what will be a very interesting presentation by Ifeanyi Kemezie. For the members on the call, I can see members of the executive committee. I can see some fellows on the call, as well as our distinguished members and colleagues. So just want you to sit in, grab a cup of coffee or tea, and listen to this most interesting presentation. Thank you all for joining in. Back to you, Tubosun.
Thank you so much. So a order of welcoming. Thank you, P, for opening that up. Everyone is settled in. Please, as a gentle reminder, please do not forget to mute yourself if you are not speaking, even when you are a panelist or a co-host, because we may have some noise from that end. We will be running a feedback and evaluation poll and survey during this session. So please, if you have something come up your screen that says participate in this poll, please help us. You help us to plan ahead for future meetings and make NAPE better. The survey would also come in after the presentation, where we'd ask you questions around, did you think this was value for your time? And what other topics would you want NAPE to fully plan for, maybe for subsequent meetings? Please also give us your responses. We'll take a safety moment as we plan to start, and Femi Adeleke would take our safety moments before we then commence the meeting. So the agenda for the meeting will run this way. We'll have, quote unquote, if the president comes in at the right time, he will come and give his welcome speech. Then we will just right into the technical presentation. I would introduce the technical chairperson, who then introduce the presenter for today. We'll take your questions in 20 minutes, and then we would close the technical sessions before we then do announcements again. We recognize also that people always log off immediately after the technical presentation. So today is going to be different. You're going to hear all the news about NAPE prior to the technical presentation. And afterwards, for those who come in late, they will hear it after the technical presentation. But we'll try to move as fast as possible. We'll have a accompanying sponsor's remark from the company rep, and then the PE will come back up to make his vote of thanks. So Femi, this is over to you to give us the safety briefing.
Okay, thank you very much, Tubosun. Thank you for the opportunity. Glad to be given this opportunity. So a quick, the topic for today is themed environmental awareness. And when I say environmental awareness, it's not the usual aspect of organization that I'm trying to talk about here. I'll be talking more about two areas, basically child safety and personal safety. So let's start with the child safety part. The environment is a lot polluted now. There are a lot of things on the media space, that means the print media, the visual media, and kids nowadays have access to tech gadgets, and this exposes them a lot. For example, we saw the Chrisland issue that is trending. So what do we bring as advice or lesson learned here? We probably want to admonish everybody to ensure that the young ones around them are provided enough parental guidance to guide them, observe. We shouldn't be too busy for our children or the young ones around us. We have to provide guidance, advise them on what to do, watch out for areas we think there are gaps and try to close it out. Because the environment is coming with pollution. Even as adults, we know that spending time on Instagram, on Facebook, on other social media handles, TikTok, before you know it, there's some views that you get to change, and this kind of pollutes our views. So for our safety, please, let's watch that. And for personal aspects, the elections are coming. The security situation is, what I say, broken down. The security agencies are overwhelmed. I belong to a professional group, and oh, sorry, the presentation is just it's just live. It's not by slide. Please, we'll take it for the next presentation. So for the security, as I said, the security architecture is a bit compromised. I belong to a security group, and we see that every day someone somewhere is kidnapped kidnapping has become a very good business in this part of the world. And I was seeing a video recently, I think yesterday, and a little boy was arrested and said he sold 2 of his victims for 5,000 naira each. And even for professionals, when we have to travel from state to state for our businesses, the essential we get information about what is happening. We know which area, basically where you're traveling to, is it safe to go there at this time? Which means of transportation is ideal to go with? Is it land? Is it by the water? Is it by the air? And also know what time of the day is it safe for you to go there. And why you do that is essential. You also get information, data around what is happening around. How safe can you go? For some people, because we work in the oil and gas industry, you feel, oh, there's nothing big about how I dress. There's nothing too much about what I drive. But essentially, we know which area it is good that you probably dress down, probably don't look flashy at all. Which time do I have to go to this place? Because these are very critical and very essential at this time of the day. Because like I said, kidnapping is increasing by the day. And it's most times people that are involved that know what they go through. There's a video that was shared in the security group I belong to, and they said some people were kidnapped and the community sent their family messages to go and pick their dead bodies somewhere. We don't want this for any of NAPE members, and that's why we're advising that people ensure they stay alert, they stay ahead of the game, they understand the environment we are aware of what is happening. Elections are coming, like I said, the security architecture is overwhelmed, and we, in our own capacity, need to do what is in our own might to ensure that we can guarantee our safety while we put the rest in God, because we need us to be alive. NAPE wants everybody to be alive, safe, and healthy, so that we can do well in our professions, do well in our contribution to NAPE as a body, and ensure and help support that the society, that's NAPE as the body, continue to grow from strength to strength. Thank you very much, and have a lovely time.
All right, thank you very much, Femi. Trying to get my video on, strangely, can't even see that. Let me stop share very briefly so I can find myself. Sometimes you really can't find yourself in this space. Okay, so yeah, I'm back. All right, so thank you very much, Femi, for that safety briefing. It's important for us to emphasize points like this, not because we don't hear them daily, but because hearing them often actually seeps into our subconsciousness, and we can make the best decisions each time we find ourselves in such situations of traveling, our environmental awareness, and just keeping safe generally. We're going to go straight into the presentation once again. Let me share my screen. Great. So the president has some issues with his laptop. He called me some few minutes ago and he's trying to restart. So I will do the announcements before he then comes in. Femi has given us his open safety briefing. Over last month, we inaugurated the Oka Owerri chapter. We introduced the chapter executives and even the coordinator and the advisory council nominee last meeting, but I just wanted to present them again now that the session has been, now that this chapter has been inaugurated. Here we have Dr. Chidozie Dim, who is the coordinator of Oka Owerri chapter, and we have Professor C.S. Nwajide, who is the advisory council nominee and now sits in the advisory council as a representative from this chapter. Over from the last meeting as well, we had NAPE members who were recognized in the industry at different award level. So I had myself recognized as the Rising Woman in Energy, and we had Mrs. Jumoke Ajayi, who was recognized an Outstanding Woman in Energy, Upstream International. The same for our past presidents, Mrs. Doja Jelabi, who was also recognized as Outstanding Woman in Energy, Upstream International. I'm going to yield the floor to the PE quickly to talk to us about the conference, activities that are happening in the background, and just encourage people to participate more often. PE.
Yeah, thanks again, Tubosun. Like you mentioned, our 40th annual conference happens 13 to 17 November of this year. The theme, as for those who can see the screen, is the global energy transition and the future of oil and gas industry, evolving regulations, emerging concepts and opportunities. The planning for this conference, which are informed by those who know such, is the Ruby Conference anniversary. The planning has started. The various conference planning committees are already working at high gear to ensure that everything is up to speed when we get to that conference. We've also used this opportunity to encourage members who are interested in participating as volunteers or as members of these various committees to also indicate to the Secretariat so that they can find a way to help this process on. The exhibition outlay has been issued for those who are online. You must have seen the announcement of the Outlook encouraging companies to also take opportunities to exhibit. The last 2 years has been on and off in terms of a full showing of companies and participants at this conference. So we're excited that this will be a full physical conference, and our fingers crossed that would be an excellent showing. So thank you again to Boston for this.
Great, thank you. And just throwing in on that, the call for abstract has also been sent out. And we implore that you actually share your knowledge, your expertise, whatever it is that you like to share across the sub teams. We have both the oral and the oral and the poster presentation formats. So please look through this. It's on the social channels. It's also on your email correspondences that you get from NAPE, and please send in early. These dates for abstract submission deadline have also been publicized. June 30th will be the last day for abstract submission, and then subsequently the review and all the final call for submission will be made thereafter. This is announcing the NAPE 2022 elections. The positions that are up as listed. Please, if you are interested, our vision is to grow NAPE. And if you know that you have the time and you have the, I don't want to say resources, but you know what I mean. If you are committed to do this to help us move the association forward, this is our implore. Please send in your nomination. What would guarantee you is, as much as we can, a safe place for you to actually showcase your commitment to the growth of the organization. So this is interesting, right? Because typically membership due ends March 31st. And what you still hear is that people that are not financially up to date still get NAPE correspondences. So while the technical session everyone can attend is free for all, now we would stop sending activity notifications to people who are not financially up to date. However, we'll send you reminders. So in case you're not getting emails anymore, maybe it's time to check your membership status. And we are using also this means to say, please pay up your membership dues. We recognize that some organizations do bulk paying at certain time of the year. If you have peculiar, and I'm emphasizing that, if you have such, please speak to the secretariat staff and speak to the president and the president-elect and let them come to that understanding. But we would not be sending email correspondences to you about NAPE activities if you are no longer financially up to date. Coming up after this, next week we have the one for Abuja chapter, which will happen on the 27th of April. They are yet to firm up the details on the timing and the presentation itself, but that would also be shared as soon as it's ready. And then on Thursday, next week, we would have a presentation from the Warri chapter on the potential of CO2 storage in basalts, a case study from CarbFix and Walula pilot projects. And this also promises to be exciting. So please, if you're interested in the potential of CO2 basalt storage in basalt sediments, please join in. A short course is going to be announced very soon. It's just to tie the loose end, and this will be shared on the various means of communication. And it's titled Essentials of Oilfield Geomechanics. This is planned to happen between the 5th and 6th of May. Members, either students or active members in whatever categories that you are in, you get 75% off. the cost. But if you're not a member of NAPE, then you pay the full 100% cost charge for this. So again, benefits to your membership. The Women in Geosciences and Engineering are partnering with the NAPE University Assistance Program chairperson or group or community in this case, and they have started a book donation drive for universities. This is currently ongoing. It has been announced, and the first phase of this will end 31st of May. We recognize that people, especially our more matured professionals, may have books, may have journals, may have whatever it is that you have that you think will be of great benefit to people in the universities. Please, we would like that you drop this at the secretariat. You can either contact Jumoke Akinpelu, who is the rep for WIG, and then ABS also, who sits in the secretariat to support the NAPE UAP community. Napier Awards will be announced right after this meeting, but I decided to bring it up here. The call for award is out. If you know that maybe you should nominate yourself. I mean, but the point I'm trying to make is nomination is open for you to put up yourself or put up other deserving NAPE members for the following awards. We have the Aret Adams, the Ben Osumo Fellowship, Honorary Award, the YP Award, and of course the Noella Award, which sits with the UAP. But the importance of this is, please, you need to read the Constitution to follow the guidelines of this. What we are also trying to do is to plan a session where the VP who sits here would be able to tell the requirements for this award, so that we don't get issues around people not understanding what the real requirements are before they then apply or nominate themselves or some other persons for this award. Great. So I rushed through that and I was trying to do 30 minutes and I did that. So to lead us into the technical aspect of this business meeting, our technical chairperson for today is no other person than Dr. Wasiu Odufisan, a fellow of NAPE. And while I was introducing him to the presenter, I said he's an erudite, and I meant that member of NAPE. Dr. Wasiu has volunteered across NAPE, is a past UAPC, and UAPC means University Assistance Program chairperson. But beyond that, he's currently an independent consultant. And since 2016 to date, his practice has focused on independent consultancy within the upstream petroleum exploration and exploitation category. He was previously employed with Mobil, and he had his assignments across the globe. He's also currently an associate lecturer in the Department of Geology, Obafemi Awolowo University, and also at the Center of Excellence in Geoscience and Petroleum Engineering, University of Benin. And I mentioned that he had been a UAPC chairperson, and that also implies that he had run several short courses on upstream geosciences practices, leadership and self-development training to students, to the public, to help them achieve enhanced results. His education is across geosciences, applied geophysics to be precise, and that's what makes him the most, oh dear, I can't remember the word now, but he's the right person to chair this technical session. And he also has other interesting certifications and degrees across natural health consultancy and so much more. And of course, with an MBA in child psychology and childhood education. And it's on that note, I would like to welcome our fellow, Dr. Wasiu Odufisan, FNAPE, again, if I may emphasize that, to take us into the technical presentation, and then we will commence. Thank you.
All right, Tumboson, thank you for the long citation. Welcome you all. I'd like to thank you all for making time to attend today's technical meeting. The topic that in fact you're going to be discussing is accurately explaining subsurface anisotropy with advanced orthorhombic model building, and example from shallow water. Let me just give some background on the presenter. Kemezi Ifeanyi has a bachelor's degree in applied physics from Nnamdi Azikiwe University, and he completed the Shell graduate program in sciences. He joined Shell SPDC in 2014 and working as a geophysicist to date, with work experience in seismic processing and imaging to support prospect maturation and development. So on this subject, there has been a long neglect of seismic anisotropy over years because isotropy is simpler. There's a general belief that the basic isotropic idea has enabled the discovery of most of the world's hydrocarbons known as hydrocarbons. However, with increasing knowledge and integration of anisotropy concepts, wildcard success rates as low as 10% in the 1950s have grown slowly to 25 in the 70s and certainly beyond 50% of cases today. And there are three basic reasons for this increase in this wildcard rates. We have better data, better idea, and better tools. So what do we expect today? I'm hoping that at the end of his talk, we will have gained a better understanding of anisotropy and then the level of details that can be captured in reservoir mapping and illumination for hydrocarbon, basically giving us a better horizon of fault delineation and the event continuity during seismic mapping characterization. And this will lead to generating robust prospects and development models for drilling, and of course, with reduced risk of sand targeting. Having said that, so I'm going to give Ifeanyi the floor now in this presentation. Ifeanyi, please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. So I'll be presenting on accurately explaining subsurface anisotropy with advanced orthorhombic model building using a shallow water data. I want to acknowledge the joint venture partners of Shell and my manager, my project team lead, and my coach from Netherlands, Jeroen. So going into the presentation, the data of interest is in shallow water Nigeria in water depth of 8 to 100 meters. So most subsurface formations are anisotropic by nature, and when you don't properly account for this in your velocity model, you have imaging and interpretation errors. Normally, we do a VTI model, which is a vertical transverse isotropy. But the limitation with a VTI model is that it cannot flatten the image gathers along all azimuths due to azimuthal anisotropy. And azimuthal anisotropy is caused by azimuthal stress differences and fractures, which result in directional velocity variation for seismic wave propagation. So that's the reason why we moved over to an advanced model building strategy, which is the orthorhombic model, which provides a more accurate velocity across all azimuths. So an orthorhombic media has three mutually orthogonal planes of symmetry, and like I said before, it can handle irregular move outs due to velocity heterogeneity. So these observed azimuth effects seem to be largest along the major fault trend. Is the major fault trend that drives this observed anisotropy. Yeah, so the result of this can be directly seen on time to depth conversion. You have less uncertainty, and also in other disciplines like pore pressure prediction and geomechanics. So the image that I have here is just a simple pictorial illustration of an orthorhombic media having three planes of symmetry and showing the orthorhombic, anisotropic parameters, delta and epsilon. And you can see in the image, you see faults, fractures, and the bedding plane. So what we want to have, I don't know if you can see my mouse.
Yeah, we see.
So
yeah,
you can see my mouse. Okay. So what we want
Yes,
to
you can
have
see.
is okay. So this is a simple VTI model, also an anisotropic model, and this is advanced model. So we want to see things like we mentioned there. They are like improve event continuity and fault definitions. So this is a textbook example here, moving from BTI to orthorhombic. So this is a Snail gather. A Snail gather is an offset XY gather along all the azimuths, moving around all the azimuths. So what you want to see after this advanced model building is to see this less G3 effect. This G3 effect is caused by azimuthal anisotropy. So this is a textbook example. This is like what we want to see after this model building. So yeah, so the fast velocity direction is along the major forward trend with epsilon 1, and the slow velocity direction is perpendicular to that. Chi defines the direction of the slow velocity between the epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, and derivation of chi is a very important step in the model building process, the derivation and the QC, to make sure that it makes geological sense. So tri-elliptic is a simple case of orthorhombic, which is where we start from to determine chi. So in tri-elliptic model, we have one plane of symmetry and two orthogonal planes where epsilon is equal to delta. So if I move to the next slide, you see the workflow of the model building process. So we start with a simple transverse isotropic model, which is what we've delivered before now, and do a zombie migration in offset vector ties, then clean up the gathers with gather preconditioning, do blanking. This is to enable us to pick the RMOs in the data properly. Then we demigrate. That's where the starting point of tri-elliptic model before we further update for orthorhombic. So for this RMO picking is done in multi-azimuth. For this case, we did 0, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, and 180 degrees. The data is an OPN data and is a full azimuth data. So this is the advantage we want to take from the data. So it's a second order RMO picking using a second order polynomial, and on the velocity, on the update, we are updating for velocity. A1, A2 over A2 is chi. Then if you QC the results that we have, and we see like hockey sticks or third order polynomial or an isotropic effect, we also update for eta. So this is the chi that we derive from the data. So we did a QC of the chi to make sure that it's geological, not just deriving anything. So this is the prospect, and these is a semblance showing all the major faults that you have in the data, and I took a line cutting across. So chi varies from 0 to 90 and minus 90. So 0 is along the direction of the major faults planes, and 90 is perpendicular. So for what we see here, what I see here along this line is that if you look at this color map, you have less value. So that's within the forward plane, and across perpendicular to the major forward plane, you see higher values of chi. So that's also what you see at the edges. So these are the areas that I want to look out for after migration. we are going to be expecting most of the improvements. The improvement is everywhere, but you have most of these improvements in the four planes. That's why eventually you have better fault definition and also event continuity. So let's look at the results on offset gathers. So this is the input VTI model, and this model looks good, but not perfect. There is still a scope to flatten the gathers more. So if I move on to the advanced model, you see how it's flattened. The flatter they get, the better accurate your velocity. So this is before, and this is what I have now. If I go again before and now, you see the improvements in the velocity. So also on the stack, it has improvements everywhere, but if you focus on the highlighted areas, you see a lot of improvement. This is before and the advanced model. If I go again before and now, so you see improved event continuity and fault mapping. So yeah, looking at fast stacks, 30 to 45 degree, where we also see more impact. Yeah. Look at the input model and what we have now. If I go again, the input and what you have now. So you see a lot of improvement in timber resolution, fault resolution everywhere. So before and now. So Snail gathers is one of the important QCs, like I mentioned in one of the opening slides from the textbook example. You want to make sure that those G3 effects, it's reduced to barest minimum. So if I go to the next slide, you see the inputs model that we have. You can see a lot of G3 effects resulting from azimuthal variation of RMOs. And when I move to the next slide, see what we have now. So those G3 effect has been largely reduced due to the advanced model. So we also benchmark this with the current business data that we have, the VTI model in PSDM, and what you immediately see is the improvement in fault resolution, event continuity, and also imaging the deep better. So we didn't stop this benchmark. We also benchmarked with a higher technology, which is RTM. Obviously, RTM is a higher technology than PSDM. The RTM is band limited, is a 45 Hz RTM, and it has, the RTM technology has its own advantages over PSDM, but nonetheless, you still see some improvements in the imaging from the orthorhombic model. If you look at the shallows, you see that you have better fall resolution and timber resolution. So yeah, also the same thing is what you see here. See better faults mapping. So yeah, at the end of the day, RTM also has some advantages. So none of these data is used in isolation. Most times, interpreters use both of them depending on what they are looking at. Yeah, but this is just to show how this orthorhombic model can complement the RTM data better. So we also look at the velocity model, and the first thing that you see is that the orthorhombic model has a similar trend with the existing VTI model. They have the same trend. So when you compare it to the sonic velocity, you see that the orthorhombic model tracks a bit better than the VTI model in different wells, and that's what we want to see. So also in interpretation, comparing the RTM and the orthorhombic PSDM, You also see better fault resolution for the interpretation. And putting the velocity on top of each of the data, you see what comes out here. You see a fault here, better image that doesn't even show here, and all these fault packages. Also in their areas of interest, you see bits more geological plausible velocity. So yeah, so by way of summary, the orthorhombic model has a similar trend with the VTI velocity, but appears more realistic, mimics the sonic logs from the well. It gives better sharpness across faults and shows more consistency with geology. No velocity outbursts was observed, and is currently used for time to depth conversion and pore pressure prediction. That's the end of the slide.
Thank you, Ifeanyi. Basically, if I'm just going to put some key things in there for a larger audience, when the word anisotropy is used, it basically means to refer to materials which allow you to change or assume different properties in directions as opposed to anisotropy. Okay, anisotropic refers to the properties of material which is independent of the direction, whereas anisotropy is direction dependent. And then the word orthorhombic is a three-dimensional geometrical arrangement having unequal axes at right angles. And when we interpret seismic, there's certainly the need to convert our interpretation from time to depth, but all subsequent reservoir maps are generated from depth. So if your seismic model is not robust, then it means that your depth maps, the depth grids will not be robust. So the essence of this is to recognize that an enhanced or better concept has to be put into generating the velocity model. But the first thing Ifeanyi did that I encourage, especially if we have students in here, because this is a learning for you, is to first acknowledge those that are giving you support and sponsored you. That's first thing Ifeanyi did. He acknowledged the sponsors and all those that are giving him the support. And he mentioned the limitations of the VTI model. That's what is necessitating to have the orthorhombic isotropic velocity model, okay, for that explains the differential azimuthal. The results is basically imparting on your time to depth, as I've said. If your time to depth is robust, via the velocity model, it means you'll be dealing with less uncertainty. And the less uncertainty helps you to build confidence and give you a high chance of success. You were also able to show the effect of this on the different seismic stacks, especially the far and the ultra far. While you recognize that you may not have significant changes in the area in terms of velocity variation, but certainly we can see through the image that show that vertically with the orthorhombic model, you are able to have an enhanced seismic continuous events with better fault definitions. So that's basically what if you ask what is the summary, I'll say this method is going to give you a robust velocity model that will help you to have depth maps with less uncertainty. Less uncertainty translates to building confidence and reduce risk of sun target for reservoir target. So that's the summary. Thank you, Ifeanyi. And I think it's time to take questions. I have said if you have questions, you can just post them. I basically captured one question from the chat, and that question is Ifeanyi. This person would like to know, how did you handle water bottom instability since this is shallow water data?
Yeah, I already typed the answer. So it was handled with statics and short processing. This is just the imaging part of it.
Another question?
Doc, there are a couple of questions on the Q&A box. So you want to check that, please.
Okay, Q&A box, all right. So you have, we have 3 questions here. I'd just like you to take them briefly, one after the other. The first question is, in your in-house data your in-house data really VTI model migrated only. What is TII? What is TTI?
Okay. Was it TTI? TTI has 2 meanings. Temperature transverse isotropy or travel time inversion. So which of them? But the initial model was a simple VTI model.
Okay. How does the orthorhombic velocity model differ from the TTI model building?
It's similar, but I think the TTI means now is a isotropic model building.
That's what I think. So how does the orthorhombic velocity modeling differ from the TTI model building? What's the key to that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned in the opening slides, so for if simple TTI model, simple isotropic model, you're looking at a one-dimensional plane of anisotropy symmetry, unlike an orthorhombic that you have it in 3 dimensions. So looking at that the data is wide azimuth, it better accounts for your anisotropy in 3 dimensions. So aside that, other things that we did is that we also updated for anisotropic parameters like delta, epsilon, and chi, not only velocity that you do for simple TTI model.
That person wants to know how many model parameters that you use in your orthorhombic model. How many model parameters did your orthorhombic model utilize? I'm not sure I'm clear about that one, but
yeah, I'm also not clear about that. So model parameters can mean different things. I don't know if there are the stiffness factors, if there are the stiffness tensors, or in terms of the orthorhombic model parameter, which I
think if you are building the orthorhombic models, there'll be certain parameters that you need to vary and input. I think that's what you'll be referring to. But how many of them did you?
So we have velocity, chi, a delta, d, and epsilon.
That's basically like 4. Okay, yeah. He's saying that, I mean, like delta, yeah, you've answered that. The chi.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
Deep azimuth, okay. Someone would like to know what do you refer to as snail gather?
So why we call it snail gather is because of the way it crawls. So if you see let me go back to that slide. So you have your offset X and Y. So you remember that is a wide azimuth data. So within your offset X, Y, you're trying to move around all your azimuths. So if you go to the snail gathers, so that movement, that's why we call it snail. I don't know if it's industry standard or sure. So yeah, but that's those G3 effect, that's what you want to flatten after your model update.
Okay. All right. Yeah, somebody asking which of the model is best for exploration. Of course, you want to build a more robust model to have time to depth. These are the questions that I've seen really here in the question and answer. I think that will be all.
Doc, there's one more in the charts.
Okay, let me take a look at that.
You have to scroll up a bit.
The one in the chart, I think I've picked that, asking about how water bottom instability was handled.
Oh, yes, that was it.
Yeah, we've picked that.
You picked that, okay.
Yes, that was the first one.
So did you see the second one around acquisition type, the OBN and streamer shooting effect?
Okay, so if we have this question again, how does acquisition type, that is OBN and streamer shooting, affect the quality of data?
Yeah, the OBN definitely is better than the streamer because you have less noise and the nodes are deployed directly on the seabed. So definitely you have a better data quality with the OBN.
That's what I think it is. I'm not seeing any other question here. So I'm just going to thank him for his presentation and hand over back to Boson.
I'm tempted to take it, but I see a very interesting comment here that I think we should actually consider. So
Exactly.
Emmanuel Madwara is asking that we please explain OBN for learners here. I think that's a very good question for the sake of students that may be in our midst. Oh, Ifeanyi.
Ocean button node, go ahead, Ifeanyi.
Okay, in a simple way, in streamer, the ship drives the cables on top of the water, and you have a lot of things that affect data quality, like tides and the movement of the streamers, whereby the nodes are attached to the cables. So the data quality is less, unlike in OBN. So in OBN, ocean bottom nodes, we deploy the equipment directly on the seabeds. Yeah. So you take out that effect of a lot of noise in your water column. Yeah. There are also other advantages of OBN over streamer, but this is just the simple definition of it.
And with the OBN, you can continuously gather data at your specified interval. It's like a continuous play of data from the ocean bottom. I mean, you can begin to relay data to the office. Whereas with streamer, you have to carry it maybe every year, every two years or something like that. So in terms of cost, the OBN is actually also better, and reliability. You can call your data. It's a permanent surveillance. OBN is a permanent surveillance. Okay. I think that'll be the end of the questions, except somebody spotted another one.
I'm okay. And thank you very much, Doc. If we can do like a virtual clap for Ifeanyi and Doc, please, everyone on the call, please let's throw in some virtual clap there to appreciate them for the session that we had just concluded. Thank you so much. If you read the comments on the charts, I guess a lot of learning has also been shared at this session. I would like to call John Bosco to give the sponsors opening remark. Ifeanyi, if you can just stop sharing your screen now. If there are other questions, you can attend to them in the chats. You can, yes, please, you can respond, answer all the questions on the chats as the case may be, or you even type it in the Q&A session. But we have come to the end of the technical session, but we encourage that you and everyone on this call take this conversation forward. And like I said earlier, if you have questions, please feel free to drop it on the chat and Ifeanyi will pick it up. So to do the sponsors remark, I'd like to call on John Bosco Uche on behalf of Shell to do this sponsors remark for us.
Okay, no, many thanks, Thomas. I confirm you can hear and see me, right?
Yes, absolutely. Here, see you.
Okay, no, many thanks. And good afternoon, everybody. Good morning or good evening from wherever you're joining. It's been an exciting morning into afternoon, listening to Ifeanyi again, bringing the perspective of what advanced orthorhombic model can do to our seismic data set. So again, many thanks to Ifeanyi. So on behalf of the shell companies in Nigeria, of course, SPDC, SNEPCO, and SNG, I really want to say we are glad to be the sponsor of this technical meeting for this month. It's something we pride ourselves in terms of supporting NAPE, but also the technical drive of the association, and that's exactly what we've demonstrated today. And beyond just the technical sessions, as most of you will know, Shell has been a strong supporter of NAPE in all activity, both in terms of sponsorship of events, but also our talent as well. As you know today, the president-elect and the UAP chair is from Shell, and almost on a yearly basis, you always have Shell folks serving in the executive body of the association. And we'll continue to do so, through our various activities with NAPE. Now, I really want to also use this opportunity to say that while we are driving our support to technical activities of NAPE, Shell is also at the front runner in terms of our energy transition journey. And for that reason, Shell companies in Nigeria is also committed to really driving that message while we continue to explore for oil and gas for today, which is going to be around for decades to come. We're already making big and huge effort towards, again, reducing the GHG emission in our facilities to ensure that we reach our net zero by 2050, which is a commitment we're making. And already, we're also committed to that sometime in 2030, we should already be at a half number compared to our 2016 levels. And for that reason, we are doing a lot of investment in terms of increasing our gas portfolio. We're also doing a lot in terms of making sure we have good abatement initiatives in our projects that are coming in future, but also around renewable. As many of you already know, All On is doing a lot in this space, in renewable, and will continue to do so. But the last word I want to leave here is that the skill set that we have today as oil and gas professionals, as explorers, most of us on the call, we're also emphasizing that most of those skills are going to be transferable, even in the new world of energy transition, things around CCUS and other elements that come with it. So our encouragement to our staff and to everybody is that we all have to be part of this energy transition, but again, be clear that our skill will continue to be relevant. And that's the message we are leaving also on the table for you today. So with that, I really want to say thanks, NAPE, for the opportunity to sponsor, and we'll continue to make sure we be part of everything they were, including the conference that is coming. We will also be strongly part of that activity, and we'll continue to do so. So thanks once again for all those that have joined and remaining at this point in time. Thanks to the presenter, our chairman, Dr. Wasiu, and all those on the call for this technical meeting. So with that, I will hand back to you, Tomosu.
Many thanks, JB. Yeah, and that's it. I would like to call on the president, Dr. James Edens, to please give the closing remark for the technical session, and also then we'll then use that to dovetail into his remark for the session before we then. P, are you able to do that now? Can you speak? Great.
Thank you very much, Tomosu. So on behalf of the entire executive committee of NAPE, the advisory council, and the board of trustees, and also the entire membership of NAPE, let me say a very big thank you to Shell for sponsoring today's technical meeting, and also to the presenter. I think he did a great job and justice to the topic, and I'm sure he was able to break down everything to the way that even people who are not versed in geophysics would have understood. And this is what we are really clamoring for, where people can come in and tell their stories and demonstrate things in the best possible way, so that we learn. Thank you very much to Ekemizie Ifeanyi. And also, let me say a big thank you to John Bosco for his closing remarks. I think his remarks were very apt, and the fact that whatever we are doing today, the skill sets we are gathering today are transferable and will be very relevant as we go through this energy transition. And then, of course, not leaving out my able PS, Publicity Secretary, who has been very helpful and very a massive stalwart in handling these activities. We thank you for helping to drive this and making everything work perfectly. The members of the association, we would like to recognize, first of all, the WIME, that is Women in Maritime and Energy, those who were honored recently, Able PS, Tumbosun Afolayo. We also had Olajumoke Ajayi and Adedoja Ojalabi. These three ladies have made us proud, and they have been awarded accordingly. Then, of course, we also have the two members who were recently brought into the executive setting. First of all, Chidozie Jim is the coordinator of the Oka Oweri chapter. And of course, Professor C.S. Wajide was recently nominated to the advisory council. And we recognize and welcome them accordingly. Also, Tomoso, I think these announcements can be taken by you, so we don't lose any traction in terms of what the membership would like or should know. I might miss out something, so I would prefer that you put all these announcements, of course, in the correct perspective.
Okay.
Yeah? All right.
All right, thank you, P. So this had been done earlier because we also recognize that after technical sessions, people tend to leave. And as you can see, the number is dwindling. So this is like re-emphasizing it. We've talked about the Napier elections, and we've encouraged people that they should pick up their nomination form if they want to really serve for NAPE this year. We've also talked about the NAPE membership dues. You may not be receiving communications, not because you are no longer a NAPE member, but because you may not be financially up to date. So peradventure, you notice that, please reinstate your membership, pay up your dues, and you will be back on track. We've talked about the presentations that are coming up following this one held today. We have the Abuja chapter that will happen on the 27th, and then we will have a Warri chapter technical presentation that will happen on the 28th. Our short course is coming again And we would like that you please register. Members get 75% discount across all the categories. I've talked also about the book donation drive. We also recognize that you may not be able to bring the books to the secretariat. If you have such cases, please reach out to Lawrence or ABS and we can plan for pickup. Pickup, like it has to be what's the pickup. If you would like the NAPE picks up for you, please. The awards also, I've talked about this. Please, if you see distinguished or people that you would like to nominate for this award, please send the nomination in and read the Constitution to follow the right process. These are the activities that are happening. I already talked about this, except for the NAPE YP technical session that will be happening at the end of this month. The flyer is also out. Please, if you are going to be in Uyo, Calabar axis or within that area, please join in. It's a technical workshop, and what they are doing this year is that they are going across the region and doing solid technical workshop across different topics, from digitalization, machine learning, and so many interesting things in that space. The PE also talked about the conference already. This is really just, saying this again for those who may have joined us later than we have done the presentation. The conference this year is planned to be physical, and we are looking forward to having you submit your abstract to be a part of it, and also present, share your knowledge, grow some visibility for yourself as you also build your expertise within your company. On that note, I'd like to call on the President-elect to give us his vote of thanks, and we'll wrap up this session.
Too much to thank. I think the president has acknowledged a lot of people who supported this event today. I just want to also mention the safety moment presenter, Femi Adeleke, as well as our erudite fellow and multi-talented presenter, the chairperson, Wasi Odufiso FNAPE, as well as the presenter, Ifeanyi Ekemezi, and Shoshe for sponsoring this. While not forgetting the NAPE secretariat staff who work behind the scene to ensure that we have a great presentation. We also want to recognize the members of the DOTAST, the EXCO, and the fellows who are here present. So thank you, everyone, for joining this session. I will look forward to seeing you at the main session. Like I promised last meeting, the plan is to have a physical technical meeting sometime this quarter. So the details of that will be sent to members as appropriate. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And that brings us to the end of this technical session. Thank you so much, as usual, for joining us. We look forward to having you in all of our activities. If you would like to volunteer for NAPE, be a part of NAPE, we want to get your organization more active, please send a mail to the secretariat, info@nape.org.ng, and you will be attended to. So it's on that note, we'd like to say thank you and have a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. Bye, everyone. So now you can stop recording.
Bye, PS.